What you focus on?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lady K Chat podcast. You are here with your favorite host, Lady K. And if this is your first time tuning in, I want to welcome you and just let you know that Lady K talks with love. She does not hold her tongue back. She tells the truth. But again, I give it with love. So I just want to welcome you here. I thank you. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you subscribe and you like this and make sure you share this with someone, because today we are still going in with our Black Boys Matters. They do matter. Our up and coming boys. These are upcoming engineers. These are upcoming all types of TikTokers and you influencers and doctors and lawyers and all those other professions, depending on what they want to be. But we thank you guys for being here, because in order for them to get there, this is why we're talking about the issues that we need to talk about today. And today I am so excited. I'm so excited. I want everyone to help welcome my guest today. His name is Riley Maye, and he's with City Inner Vision. Is that correct, Riley?
Inner City Vision.
Really, thank you so much for that correction. You know, you try to remember everything, but I thank you.
Sure.
Listen, I am not ashamed. I have no game in me. But again, everyone, please help me welcome Riley. Riley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. So like I said, Riley, you know, Black Boys Matter. It was really dear in my heart to open back up this season with this topic, because our young boys does matter. These are our future, right? But I want to tackle some of the issues that they are experiencing today, so we can know how parents, loved ones, faculties can get through these kids, because they can't do it by themselves. Like, you know, remember that expression back in the day, it takes a village? I don't know what happened to that, but we can talk a little bit about that today. But I know the biggest thing, Riley, we wanted to touch base on is what you do in your field. And I want you to tell the audience a little bit about what you do, right? And what issue do you see that we need to pay attention to our kids, so we can make sure that they're on right track?
Right. Well, you know, once again, I want to thank you for having me. And, you know, this is great what you're doing, first of all. One of the biggest issues I see, I work in South High School, East Stroudsburg South High School, and I've been there 19 years. And, you know, for the young people of my life, especially our young men, you know, I've been coaching basketball there for about 12 years, but I've been coaching most of my life, over 35 years. And one of the things I do see is there's a lot of peer pressure going on, you know, and we have to, I find myself having to, you know, holding myself accountable, and, you know, and a lot of allowing the kids to see the real me, you know. There's no short ways about it, you know, when it comes to being around kids and allowing them to see who you are, and no matter what, keeping it 100 with them.
Absolutely.
You know,
Riley, you said something. I'm gonna stop you right there. You said something so profound, you don't even realize it. You said holding yourself accountable.
yes.
I think if more young boys see men do that, and then you hold them accountable, they will be so much better, because there are so many men out there that is lacking accountability. And you know what was kind of interesting that you say about this? So, you know, I love social media, and somebody mentioned on social media, and it was a woman. She said, you know, dear men, please stop interfering in women business, always talking about women, and focus on correcting your brother or correcting the young generation. And it was so true, because as we can see right now, you know, this is on topic but off, because you got to think about it. If we don't address the issues now, this is what young men are going to become. There's a lot of you know, women do this, women do that. Let me tell you something. This is why I'm here. I'm here in this space because I love to talk to the woman, because I was she, you know, and because I hold myself accountability, and the circle that I'm in hold me accountable. And now I can teach women, hey, these are some of the things that we got to work on. So if it's a woman's job to go ahead and talk to her sister, then listen, it is a man's job to talk to his brother and the young ones that's coming up. So accountability, Riley, what does it look like?
Very important.
What does accountability look like?
Well, it starts out by being able to check yourself.
Ooh, come on now.
You know, I mean, I make mistakes regularly. You know, one of the things that I pride myself is about, I can remember um, opening up a gym in Brooklyn on a Sunday morning. I want to say we had a lot of gang activity in Brownsville. And
Yes.
I was officiating a basketball game, and this young man said something that I didn't like in the stands, where I should have been focusing more on the game. But I
Mm,
was the only adult in the building at the time. So I stopped the game and was escorting him out the building. By the time I got to that door to take him out the building, something spoke to me, and I ended up bringing that kid back, and I apologized to him.
mm,
You know, I don't think we do that enough,
yes.
allowing the young people to see our and understand our mistakes and how we correct them. Because how are we going to train them to do that if we're not doing it ourselves? It's impossible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 110%. Listen, I have two young boys, and when I'm wrong, I let them know, hey, mommy was wrong. I'm not always
Absolutely.
right, and you're not always right. I said, but we have to learn how to receive correction from one another.
That's right. We do. We do. It's so important, because, like I said, I, I think it's something that is taught. You know, I dealt with a young man today, and I seen him doing something wrong. And before he could start lying, I had to let him know, listen, I saw you.
Mm,
And all he could say is, Coach, yes, you're right, my bad. Because, it would be too easy to allow them to just fail,
right.
But when we correct them with love, though,
Here you go.
because there's a difference. We can't continue to chastise our kids for making mistakes when we made those same mistakes ourselves.
Ooh, I'm happy you brought up the chastising, because let me tell you what a lot of parents love to bring up. They love to bring up the scripture where, children, obey your parents. But the word also says, parents, do not chastise your children. You see, so
Wow.
you know how it's like we love to say one, but we always forget the
Yeah.
other.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
And especially when we're supposed to be training them to be our future. You
absolutely.
know.
And this is why we're here today, because we want to let them know, one, we make mistakes too, but two, is also great for you to show that accountability. And also, too, I think, Riley, also when you put them in the space of being stronghold on accountability, I think
Yeah.
also too that can actually build up their confidence. And I
Yeah.
can think somewhat to a degree, that can kind of alleviate peer pressure. Let's talk a
That's right.
little bit about peer pressure, because I know you wanted to dive a little bit into that.
Well, I see it every day. I watch these, especially, these young men and these young girls. They got to be dating, and for some reason, you know, our young ladies think it's their job to train up that young man how to be their man.
Right.
And one things I asked the young ladies, I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. What kind of situation is that young man coming from?
Mm,
Because just because he looked good and you like the way he dressed, are you buying his clothing? Are you doing this for him? You know, we often look at situations. Well, I always look at situations where I don't know where these young men are coming from. We don't know what happened to them in their household,
right.
to cause them to feel like they got to follow the lead of that person that may not be doing positive things, like a gang member, for instance.
Mm,
So, and that's how they find what they think is love or support they need, because somebody's taking them in and they're following the wrong suit instead of, well, who knows who they have to follow at home, you know,
absolutely.
or on the outside, and especially I think out here in the Poconos, there's not enough positive things going on the outside of the house. So, our young men, especially, they going out and they feeling that little bit of freedom, so they following whatever they see. Man, I don't think we're showing them enough.
And can I pause right there because this podcast is worldwide. So the area that Riley and I live in is really small. There's not a lot of activities for kids to do. So if you think about it, we are not in a space where it's much for them to do. This is a retiree area, even though families are welcome and families built here, but it's like, what is there to do for kids? And then I see this continuously. I see people attempt to open up organizations and they may not last long, so it's really hard. And they say that it takes community, but the thing about where we live at is like I feel like the community is commuting. They're commuting.
You're so right.
And then this produced latchkey kids. I don't know if y'all familiar with that terminology, because I understand it. When I was growing up, that wasn't my experience, because I had the pleasure of growing up with my grandmother in the house. I like to tell people, I didn't grow up in a single parent household. I grew in a multi-generational household. So I had the pleasure of having grandma. Some people don't have that. Some wives up here get to stay home. Some don't, because as we know, things are just keep increasing and going up and up and up. So sometimes these single mothers have to do what they have to do. But at the same time, too, I have seen plenty of mothers, because I don't want to use that statistic, but I have also seen plenty of mothers, who did have to go in that position I just said, and they have made some wonderful kids. They may have to be on their butt, like I said, I have 2 boys, I try to, and here's one thing that I want to say, that we talk about peer pressure, that I have done this to my boys in the morning time when they're getting ready and they're getting dressed. I make my boys always look in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. Because I remember at one point, one of them didn't like to, because he didn't feel comfortable with himself. But you got to make these kids look at themselves in the mirror as they're grooming themselves, and make sure that, hey, I love you.
Right. That's right.
I love you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then another thing too is that, we have to learn conflict resolution, right? When that happens and you allow your children the space, like you said, to fall, but correct, and let them tell you, hey, mom, I did this, because I allow my kids to come to me and talk to me, because I come from a generation where I understand it's like, do as I say, not as I do. And it's like, I can't do that, because that would make me a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? And even at the times where I'm not correct, I still will go ahead and say, you know what? Let me correct myself. But I think that right there, as far as, reducing peer pressure, if they know who they are and you build up their confidence, I think it can help them make better decisions. And like you said, Riley, a lot of these young boys, they're headed to the game because they're looking at the game as that's their family. That ain't their family, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking for support.
That's right. That's right. They're looking for whatever they can to fit in.
Right.
And what they don't understand is the strongest field that they have is that household.
Right.
That home that they come out of. I mean, some of it might not be that great, but at the same time, when these kids come into the school and I see them first thing in the morning, you can almost tell. You can read, because I pay attention to their walk, their actions, their mode, and who they're talking to, who they're socializing with. I mean, just today I saw this young lady on camera yesterday, and I didn't like what she was doing, and I had to explain to her, because it was her and a young man. I had to explain to her that, people see you. What do you want them to see? And I tell our young men the same thing. How do you want people to internalize you and see you and view you? Because that's the walk. That's what once they see you, that's actually how they're going to judge you, if you will.
Right.
Because we have a lot of that going on. And I'm telling these young men on a daily basis, why do you want folks to judge you by what they just saw? Because they will.
Right.
And especially our young brothers. A young man today approached me and he said, Coach, I have this here issue. And I said, well, why are you putting yourself in that position? You know, you don't have to be with that crowd, you know, and that's why you had that issue. You know, I don't want to talk too much about the issue at hand,
I
but
understand.
but at the same time, you know, it's almost like they'd rather be on the left side when they knowing that that right side is where they need to be,
Right.
because they see more people walking on the left. Well, no, we have to make decisions for ourselves and what's best for us, not what's best for our surroundings.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's why, you know, coaching for me is more than just dealing with a basketball. You know, it's all about giving a young man the type of growth that he needs, that he can internalize and maybe use this to help somebody else. Because
Absolutely.
it's not about being that NBA player or that college player. It's about taking steps. I mean, you could dream. We all athletes have that dream, but at the same time, you got to be able to take something from that, whether that's going to produce a professional athlete or not. You can still get a lot out of it.
Absolutely. I agree with you 110%.
You
And I just want to add on, like you said, basketball is just not the sport, but it also builds up confidence. You know, we
Confidence.
have to look at that. That gives the children
Yeah,
an outlet to, release whatever tension and anger they
that's
might
right.
feel, so it can transfer into something different and make
Yeah,
them feel good. It's all about transformation, you know?
absolutely.
And these
Absolutely.
young kids, especially these boys, they need that. Like my youngest, he swear up and down he bored. I be like, oh, I gotta get this boy into something because he just so bored. But he really is. So it's like, I gotta get on the ball and put him in something because he's at that age now where he's itching, like he needs a little bit more. And I see that. And that's another thing too. As a parent, you need to see that. Like I know it's hard, but where can you make the sacrifice? Who can you depend on? This is where your the village comes in. And I know some people villages might be limited, but I also want to say to the moms and maybe single dads, don't be afraid to ask what are other alternatives. That's what people need to know. If I can't take them, and we live in this
Yes,
area, who can help? And then maybe this might be the opportunity for you to speak to your neighbors, for you to speak
that's
to the
right.
school,
That's
and
right.
that's another thing too. And I have to say this, I have to stress this. And I'm about to dig in some people and they ain't gonna like it. It's like, look, you took the time to go to Beyonce concert, but you can't
Mm,
take the time to go to a school board meeting.
mm.
That school
Wow.
board meeting needs to hear you. It needs to hear you to say, hey, I need this for my son. How come can we get the money to do this type of transportation? You know what I'm trying to say? Like that needs to be brought to a lot of people's
Oh, yeah.
attention. So it's like, if you can go ahead and satisfy yourself and go to a Beyonce concert, why can't you attend these school board meetings so they can know why there's a platform for you to address your concerns, and then they can probably do something about
Yeah,
it. If we don't go out there, if we're looking short in numbers,
that's right.
nothing's going to get done, because all I hear people is complaining. Y'all complaining, and y'all do absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. I mean, I seen that a lot, you know. I've been doing what I do for wow, almost 50 years. You know, I started coaching at the age of 14, 15, and
Wow.
I never turned back. And I was still that player, but it was something about that helping somebody and directing that just stayed with me. And I think God just took it from there, you know, because I've been blessed with the ability to not just reach, but help make a difference in some of the young men that I approach lives. And some of them got grown kids now. That same young man that I talked about earlier that I put out the gym, you know, we established a relationship.
Look at
And
that.
since I moved to the Poconos, he called me and told me how he got his degree. No, he found me on Facebook and
Wow.
told me that he got his degree. And I'm like, wow, you know. So you never know what effects you have, but you cannot be effective unless you put your works into effect in your own community. It's so important. And we need our brothers to really start coming out and come out for the right reasons too. Because I bump into a lot of the, but we have to start coming out for the right reasons, and it ain't about you.
Absolutely.
It's not about you. It's about us. So with that all being said, I mean, a gentleman just asked me to be on his board for this AAU program, and even me still to this day, I'm careful about the same way I teach my young men, be careful about the teams you play on. You just don't want to play for anybody.
There you
Play for
go.
somebody that's going to give you some substance. Play for somebody that's going to show you a route to go when this here basketball don't work for you.
Absolutely.
Because one thing my coach, who I still have a strong relationship with, Coach Ted Gustis out in Brooklyn and Brownsville, we talk regularly, and he has a program now called One Breath, Breathe Life. And basically, it's just the way it sounds, speak life into these young men.
Absolutely.
Don't tear them down. Give them the confidence. I don't care what they're into. If they're into rap, help them find a way to step their game up in what they do. Because believe it or not, at one time I was even managing artists just because this young man, I found he was so good at what he did. I had to find a way to get into it.
Okay.
And I took him to showcases and did this and that. And he didn't have that father figure in his life, but it was just enough for him to have me be there for him in his shows, taking him to record in the studio and stuff. That's not me, but
Right.
I had to learn it though. He's still writing poetry, but now he's managing folks and stuff like that. Like I said, that leading by example is so important.
Absolutely.
It ain't never about you. It ain't about me. It's about us.
Absolutely. Well, Riley, you know what? We are running out of time, but before we go, I appreciate all the nuggets that you have dropped in this sharing the stories, because I'm pretty sure somebody needs to hear us, and I love what you are doing in the community. Tell us a little bit about the name of your organization and how can people reach you?
For Inner City Vision, if you go on Facebook, just look up my name. There is a site on the Facebook site, Inner City Vision. It'll come up. But I can be reached at 570-856-0769. I take kids to out to Montreal, Canada every year. I like to show them something different, get them out to community, taking every year. And last year, we only had 6 kids because we're coming back from COVID, but we still went and we did well and we have a great time. It's not about the winning and losing, because every time I go, no matter what the scoreboard says, that's a win for me. We do things like that every year, and please reach out. We're trying to get our summer program back started. We usually average about 150 kids. School districts give me challenges with getting to school, being that it's going to stop, because I'm going back at them again this year,
Good.
and I'm always coming back for the school, because we used to do it at Dansbury Park, and inside the school, it's a little more safer, it's a little less distractions,
Right.
and we just have a great time training. And then we have a tournament that comes up in August where the New York City teams, Jersey teams, and even Montreal comes to us every year. So we're trying to get back started now that we have COVID under control, and looking forward to meeting a lot of you folks in my community. And if you have any more questions, just hit me up anytime.
Well, thank you, Riley. I appreciate you giving out that information. And everyone, I hope this was helpful for today. And I have to say one more thing before we leave. And this is actually dedicated to the mothers. Mothers, I know we're overwhelmed. We say a lot, we do a lot, and our children see us carry the weight. Sometimes when we feel like we're about to get a little snappy and we're about to burst out and say something, I'm going to tell you right now, reframe your tongue.
Yes.
Because it can hurt them. And you never know, just that one day that can cross over and they can make a wrong decision. And you don't want that on your conscience. And I know it's troubling, it's challenging every day. But for you as a mom, you have to learn how to cultivate your mouth, and you have to learn how to speak more life into your children, and also to the fathers too, that's there. Step in and be involved because they need your support. But I just wanted to share that out to the moms. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please definitely share this video because someone needs to hear this. Like it and subscribe to the channels. We're always bringing up some great shows and some great nuggets. I appreciate you guys for listening. We will be back here again next Tuesday here at 6 p.m. at the Lady K Chat podcast. Everyone have a fabulous night.
Lady K.